Hello, this is Blue Star, Defender of Equestria, and this is my next character analysis video. The miscellaneous characters that I don't feel like doing an entire separate video for, so focused on the main 5. There are also lots of other great characters in My Little Pony New Generation, so I want to talk a little bit about some of them. So in this video I'll be discussing Argyle, Queen Haven, Phyllis Cloverleaf, Canterlogic, even though it's technically not a character, but Sprout. So going on to Argyle, I just love Argyle. He's a great dad. That's really the thing that symbolizes him the most. If everyone had parents like this, we'd probably all be better off, I think is the short answer. Because he's being supportive of his daughter, he's playing with her and helping her and encouraging her, and he's teaching her to, stand up, keep on believing, and fight for what you believe in. So roar! And it's like, oh, he's just such a great dad. He's just so supportive. I just love that. I mean, yeah, my favorite moment is like, well, maybe that day's today. Look, a unicorn. Where? It's like, over here. Aw, nice one, Dad. Yeah, I really hope we get to see Argyle again. Even though he's no longer with us, but you never know. Especially now that we're in the digital age, maybe there's like secret messages from Dad. And the fact that he sort of rigged the lantern of the lighthouse to sort of house these 3 crystals might indicate that there may be more going on in this lighthouse than appears. Maybe we will see those kinds of secret messages, or maybe in a flashback or so, but I love him. He's great. A couple quick thoughts about this medallion that he's wearing around his neck. First, it's like, I kind of like that it symbolizes him as being like a maker, that it's made out of wood and was clearly handmade. The second is kind of like, maybe this was like the stencil that he used to like gild the journal, because I'm pretty sure wherever he bought this journal, it didn't have the symbol on it to begin with. So what an interesting question itself. How old is this diary? Is it just a diary, or is it some sort of artifact from the Friendship is Magic era? Or maybe not, but it'll be interesting to see one way or the other. Final thing is that, considering that there may be more secrets and things going on in this lighthouse, or maybe somewhere else, that maybe this medallion is important some way. Maybe it'll be the key to some big puzzle or something in the future, but we shall see. Now moving on to Queen Haven, Queen of the Pegasi, and Zip and Pip's mom. It's like, I really like her. She feels totally like the royal, majestic queen. I think the short answer with her is she's definitely Pip's mom. Because she has a lot more in common with Pip than Zip, in that Pip is the social media star and posing for the pictures. Even when she's being taken for her mugshot, is like posing for the camera. It's like, Queen Haven is definitely interested in the spotlight and looking good and all those sorts of things. Because when she's being arrested, no photos. Okay, just one photo. Posing for the camera while being arrested. Now there's a celebrity. So she always has to look good. So yeah, definitely the hallmark of, in some ways, a celebrity and a queen. It's interesting with this deception that she's been perpetuating, that the royals can still fly and while all the other Pegasi can't. That usually when royalty do these sorts of things, it's to increase their own power and to make themselves feel better in a lot of ways. But that's not the case here. It's a thing in itself of, when did this all happen? Did this happen in their lifetime or generations ago? I'd like to say it happened in their lifetime, so this was her choice. Because if it wasn't her choice, then, well, there's not much she could do about it. If this was her choice to basically continue this belief that, oh, the royals can still fly even though all the other Pegasi can't, was an interesting choice, because the reason why is to make all the other ponies feel better. It's like, don't worry, we can still fly, so I thought that was an interesting thing. I think she is focused on the good of her ponies and not necessarily herself. We didn't get to really see her leadership all that much, but I do think that she does have the pony's best interests at heart. So yeah, well, we didn't get to learn so much about her character. We didn't get to see much of her leadership, but I think what we did shows that I think that she is a good leader. She does have the interests of the ponies at heart, and that, yeah, she may be in a way focused on appearances and stuff, but her focus really is on what's best for her ponies. She's trying to raise her daughter to, think about what's best for the ponies. So I think she is a good, responsible leader and a good mom. Definitely love her, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from her. So roar. So now moving on to Phyllis Cloverleaf, creator and founder of Canterlogic, which makes perfect pony products to protect ponies like you. More on Canterlogic's products later, but yeah, it's like, Phyllis was an interesting character. I think she and Sprout almost represents the ponies as a whole. Of like, this is their mentality of, why are you teaching your daughter pony unity? It's like, that's just nonsense. How are we gonna defend ourselves? With hugs and cupcakes? but she's not a bad pony. As Sprout says, it's like, I would have never done this without your love and support, Mommy. She wasn't doing this out of malice. It was like, ooh, look, I can make my son the sheriff and, like, take over. No, that wasn't her motivation. Her motivation is, oh, look, here's an opportunity for my son to be the sheriff and be in charge and rise to his destiny. This is an opportunity for you to be the best that you can be. So go for it, son. I believe in you. Yay! In some ways, that's what every parent should do, especially when I think Sprout was kind of doubting himself. Unfortunately, he went completely to the dark side. But if she had known that that was going to happen, she probably would have done something differently. What that was, I'm not quite sure. Probably would have tried to intervene a little bit more, like at that moment when it's like, someone's getting a big head, that she might have been like, okay, son, I think that we need to slow down and stop a little bit. Maybe tell me what the top secret project is. Oh, it's a tank. Oh, are you sure this is a good idea, son? Because when the revelation comes of, they don't have any magic? Oh, she's kind of like with all the other ponies, I think, a little bit. For her, it's more like, wait a minute. That changes things. If the other ponies don't have magic, they're essentially no threat to them. So why are we doing this at all? That really gave her pause and moments to think about, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Do we even have to do this anymore? That was the thing with this movie, is that there's truly no villain, just some misguided ponies that went just a little bit too far. Okay, they went very far. It's like they built a tank. The short answer is, this was probably not going to end well for any ponies, so not a good move on their part. The thing that really, in a way, quote-unquote, saves Phyllis is that when she realizes her son has gone berserk, he's going way too far, he's attacking ponies, it's time for him to stop. She is willing to literally stand in front of a giant moving tank in order to tell him to stop. That takes guts. And of course, at the very end, she's willing to, give these ponies a chance and even befriend some of these ponies that she was, like, a couple days ago telling all the other ponies that you have to fear, and that shows that she's willing to see that she's done something wrong. I kind of like Phyllis. It's going to be interesting to see where they go with her, and Canterlogic itself, which I'll be getting to in a moment. Phyllis and Sprout do have a very interesting relationship, because yeah, it's sort of like the overly motherly mom and the sort of the kid that kind of never grew up. But she's definitely demonstrated she can be an open-minded pony and willing to stand up for what she believes in. So I'm looking forward to seeing more from her. Now, Canterlogic, which is technically not a character, but I'm gonna kind of treat it as such. Canterlogic is such an interesting idea, especially in a town like this. When I think seaside towns, I don't think manufacturing. Then again, I'm a computer programmer. What do I know? Kind of like the idea of Canterlogic. And again, shows that we're sort of moving a little bit more to the future, that things are a little bit more automated than they were in the Friendship is Magic era. But then again, of course, we did see things like factories and automation and stuff in Friendship is Magic, but this is a much greater deal of automation, and I kind of like the demonstration because as a programmer, it's like, I understand this feeling. It's like, we can't stop it. It's fully automated. We have to let it run through the whole thing. Oh! As Q says, always have an escape plan. Unfortunately, I think Q would be horrified by Canterlogic because his place is incredibly unsafe. I don't know if this is primarily Sprout's fault, which I'm gonna assume it kind of is. It's because he's probably working them to like the limit. Yeah, like during the scene where they're constructing the tank, there's so many fun things to look at. We have a lot of unsafe, unprofessional behavior and things that are just amusing. Like they have this giant crane lifting like this itty bitty gear that they could have been just like, here, catch. There's ponies sleeping like all over the place, including on top of the scaffolding. It's like, and that obviously this poor pony falls from the ceiling and ends up being flat. Only to be picked up again, probably to be dropped again. So, and ponies were almost crushed by a giant pipe and stuff. It's like, this place is incredibly unsafe. I don't think it would pass anybody's health and safety standards. I don't think I'd want to work here. The other thing that's amusing about Canterlogic is that they've spent all this time making these products that just don't work. I have this vision of Blue Star, like, looking at the splatter pole and then just blasting it to pieces and be like, you didn't really think this was gonna stop a unicorn, did you? At the same time, it wasn't completely useless. It actually did stop a very large pony, but generally all this does is just cover ponies in goo. But yeah, I mean, my thought on that is that simply is that they make all these products, but They've probably never tested them on an actual unicorn before, so they have no idea if they work. It's another sin of a designer slash programmer is to make something and never test it, so I do like how some of the ponies have like the collar and the tie, but don't actually have a shirt. Again, there appears to be a no clothes rule in My Little Pony: A New Generation, which in some ways kind of makes sense. They either have to wear clothes or they don't. But yeah, Canterlogic is just this amusing kind of like fun place. I love Canterlogic in some ways, and that they make absolutely horrible products. It does also make me sad too. No, don't worry, I'll save you. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't try out or test their products beforehand, which is a major no-no. It's going to be kind of interesting what's going to happen to Canterlogic now, because they've just had this massive revolution that they built these products to primarily protect ponies against the other ponies. But now that we're friends with those ponies, what are we gonna do now? It's like, they don't need this Canterlogic junk, and they especially don't need it now. What's next for Canterlogic? What are they gonna do? I mean, obviously, they're not gonna go away, because I'm gonna imagine that this place is a very important for this town. Like most manufacturing places, it's a very important part of this community. Employs probably most of the ponies in Maritime Bay. So it's not just gonna go away. So they're gonna decide, okay, we'll make something else. Interesting what that is. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more useful than whatever it is they made before. But I do kind of like Canterlogic, and these ponies, they work so hard some of the time. But I do want to see Canterlogic continue and see where they're going to go from here and what they're going to decide to make now. Who knows? Maybe they'll go from being like this defensive factory to maybe they'll start making products to actually promote friendship between the ponies somehow. That would be great. Canterlogic appears to be sort of a high-tech, quote-unquote, high-tech kind of place. This whole presentation definitely feels like a big, you know, like high-tech presentation of like, here's the latest phone or whatever. So it'll probably be something kind of mechanical or technological in some way. Hopefully whatever they decide to make next will actually work. But in any case, whatever they decide to do next, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing more from Canterlogic, and hopefully that their health and safety standards will go up just a little bit, because I don't want ponies falling from the ceiling or drifting off into who knows where. That was sad. Fortunately, they both got to live, so roar. So here's looking to seeing more from Canterlogic. Roar. So now on to, in some ways, a very major character, but one that I'm slightly have problems with is Sprout. The obvious thing is Sprout turned to the dark side and proclaimed himself Emperor of Maritime Bay, so yeah, that was kind of bad. Unfortunately, a lot of things I really don't like about Sprout. One of my favorite moments from my reaction video to the movie was,
Hey!
Hey there, hello.
Hey.
The friends I make, the friends I know. Today you answer my call.
I think the short answer is I really don't think he's qualified to be deputy. He just doesn't have the kind of qualities that really make a good deputy, including not breaking the laws that you're supposed to be enforcing. He stole his soda and cookies. How could you? Sacrilege. Sprout is definitely the kind of like the kid that never really grew up. Definitely not sheriff or deputy material on that, I'm afraid. I do have to say, it makes it difficult to like Sprout, but at the same time, I don't think he's a bad guy. He's just incredibly misguided. Again, kind of like with Phyllis, he's kind of representing in some ways the mentality or the attitudes that all the other ponies in Maritime Bay are feeling. It's like when he goes before them, he's like, oh, don't worry, every ponies, there's nothing to be afraid of. But then he starts listening to them and he's like, oh, wait a minute, you're right. You should be afraid. If there was a villain in this movie, it's that. It's fear. Once set in Babylon 5, back home we are constantly warned about the enemy. But what is the enemy? The enemy is fear. The enemy is ignorance. The enemy is the one that tells you you must hate that which is different from you. Because in the end, that hate will destroy you. Which is sort of what happens in this movie, that, you know, things don't really end too well for Sprout. Unfortunately, he's okay, but yeah, this tank is crushed underneath the lighthouse. He's kind of almost exiting in disgrace. He's like, did I do this? Yeah, he's realizing that he's done something wrong, that he's went too far. All these ponies were put in danger. The lighthouse has been trashed. His tank was knocked over and nearly crushed completely by the lighthouse. So, yeah, this didn't end very well. Ugh. Why I kind of feel bad for Phyllis at the end of the movie, where it's like, Mommy, was I a good sheriff? How do I gently break my baby's heart? Oh look, a flying dog, bye! So he's not really a bad guy, he's just incredibly misguided and acting out of fear, and like, if we don't go and attack these ponies, they're going to attack us. That was really the way the town was feeling, so I kind of feel bad for Sprout and Phyllis, and that they really have to, in some ways, bear the responsibility of the consequences for the way that the rest of the town was feeling at the time, so... It is kind of difficult for me to like Sprout, but I still kind of feel bad for him at the same time. He's clearly not a bad guy, but he's the kind of person that I really wouldn't want to be sheriff or deputy or have any of these kind of positions, because he's got a lot of growing up to do. After all this, is he still going to be deputy, or should he be deputy? That's an interesting question. I would like to see Sprout move on to do something else. My first thing is that, oh, maybe he should take over like Canterlogic. But I'm going to assume that most of the health and safety problems that were going on in Canterlogic was mostly because he was pushing the ponies way too hard, so that probably wouldn't be a good idea. I think perhaps a career change may be in order for Sprout? Or maybe we should give Sprout a second chance and, you know, maybe he'll learn some more. I mean, I'm sure he learned something from all this. At least I hope he did. Yeah, like, don't go to the dark side and launch attacks against ponies. So overall, I'm kind of torn with Sprout. He's not a bad guy, but... he's not the kind of guy that I would really want to see in any kind of authority position. But hopefully he learned a lot from this, and maybe he'll be a better deputy and a better pony. So we shall see. Sort of one of the rules of great storytelling is that you have to start with great characters, and while we didn't get to learn a lot about these characters, it was only one movie, but what we did get to learn I like, and I'm looking forward to seeing and learning more about these characters, and seeing our next adventure in Maritime Bay and the world of Equestria. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and until next time, this is Blue Star. Stay strong, and pony on. Blue Star out.